Since Ghostbusters Afterlife released, we have seen the media try their very best to spin the narrative around it, and the critics even gave Afterlife a mediocre Rotten Tomatoes score. Yet the fans of Ghostbusters have absolutely loved the movie. It is sitting at a very solid 95% score on Rotten Tomatoes, and I have to say, it was a really good movie. I saw it opening weekend, and I have thoughts about it that I want to share in this video, but of course, it's still doing great at the box office, and I wanted to read a few articles where people are trying to say that Afterlife is terrible and Ghostbusters 2016 was way better and underappreciated. But before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month or supporting via memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. Now, I figured before we actually get into some of the articles that are bashing Afterlife, I wanted to show off some of the review scores that are coming out, the box office numbers for this movie, and comparing it directly to Ghostbusters 2016. And as you can see, Ghostbusters Afterlife was #1. This movie did absolutely fantastic opening week. It made a total gross of almost $64 million. You know, week by week, no matter what movie it is, numbers drop for films. People go opening weekend, see the movie, they get really excited, but they probably won't go back to see it a second time. As the weeks goes on, numbers drop, but Ghostbusters Afterlife was sitting at #1 with $63 million, and #2 was Eternals. Eternals at this point had already been out for 3 weeks, so of course, it's not that surprising to see its drop, but it's dropping quite a bit, 47%. There's Enchanto that did really well for Disney opening weekend. Again, these numbers are only Friday to Thursday, and so that's only at Thursday's opening numbers for something like Enchanto. But as you can see, there wasn't really a lot that was rivaling these other movies. Clifford, minus 36%. Clifford, an absolute joke of a movie. But then there's House of Gucci, which is supposed to be this giant box office opening, and unfortunately for the people that made House of Gucci, it's not doing as well as they thought. It is underperforming right now at the box office. But then there's movies that just came out, like Resident Evil, which nobody seems to care about. As a Resident Evil fan myself, I was not excited for this movie, but besides that, there was nothing new on this list. Venom, weeks old. French Dispatch, weeks old. Spencer, couple weeks old as well. Antlers, weeks old. So nothing else here that could even get close to rivaling something like Afterlife. But as you can see, it was #1, and it did really, really well. Now, going on over to Box Mojo, I wanted to show the comparisons between Afterlife and 2016 because the media is spreading this narrative that Afterlife is doing worse than 2016, but as you can see, it's doing great currently, and it's so important to keep in mind that Ghostbusters Afterlife has only been out a week and a half. So if we look at the numbers, it says it's made 87 million domestic, 28 million international, and 115 million worldwide. And Ghostbusters 2016 ended up at 128 domestic, 100 million international, and 229 million worldwide. Now, the all-female Ghostbusters has been out for years now, but these Afterlife numbers are from only a week and a half of sales. It's already gone over the budget, which is great, and sales are really good. So there's no way the media can say, oh, it's a failure compared to the 2016 movie, because we're talking about a giant difference in time here. The Ghostbusters 2016 movie ran its course. It had a fair shot in the box office, and Afterlife has only been out for a short amount of time, so we really won't know for a couple more weeks if Ghostbusters Afterlife is going to be considered a fail, but it's already made back its budget. This movie was the best sequel slash reboot slash continuation of a franchise I've seen. As a Ghostbusters fan, it had a great balance between telling the story of the new characters while respecting the first two movies and the original cast of Ghostbusters. It was one of the better movies I've seen in a long time, and in my opinion, it was a solid 8.5 out of 10. I liked the main characters. I thought that it was really well done. The CGI looked great. I thought that overall it was a pretty good movie, and I was really excited to see it, and it definitely did not It did not disappoint, at least me. It says we should have cherished the 2016 Ghostbusters when we had the chance. I saw the 2016 Ghostbusters and I hated it. There was nothing that I liked about it. I try to be positive about things. I try to find the good in things, whether it's the acting or the cast of characters and their personalities or the CGI or the story, but there was nothing about this movie that made it good, that made it original, that made me ever want to rewatch it. I will never rewatch Ghostbusters 2016. I regret watching it the first time. It says setting my time machine back to about early to mid 2016, I am going to tell past humans two things. The first will be to, after referencing the general state of everything by waving my arms hysterically, tell everyone that it can and will get much, much worse. The second will be that although this is very much true, there will soon be a short-term tonic. That tonic arrives on July 15th, and it's the new Ghostbusters movie. On that day and any day after, buy your tickets, sit down, and cherish every second. Cherish the expertly assembled ensemble of hilarious people making every sequence a riot. Cherish the bonkers new take on spirits, specters, and ghouls that need busting. And cherish the fact that this is a reboot, remake, whatever that means, to respect what came before, but remains 100% confident in its new vision. Now, I will never and have never liked Ghostbusters 2016. I was not a fan of anything about it, and I honestly wish that they had rethought the movie, they had changed the story, maybe switched out cast members, they had done more that also respected the original Ghostbusters, because I feel like this movie was an absolute joke. It didn't feel like it respected the original source material. It didn't feel like it was supposed to be some amazing, accurate movie that was for the fans. I unfortunately didn't like much about it. If other people like it, that's okay. You're allowed to have your opinion, but I will never like this movie, and I think that articles like this are kind of ridiculous just because they don't talk about any of the problems that the film has. The necessity for Terminator-style time travel stems from the fact that when the movie dropped over 5 years ago, we didn't give ourselves a chance to bask in its comedic brilliance. Nothing about this movie was brilliant. It says instead the entire conversation was dominated by controversy, and by controversy I mean big babies taking to social media. It's okay to say that I don't think that your opinion is right about the movie, okay? I think the movie was better than you're giving it credit for, but to go and call people babies because they didn't like it is absolutely ridiculous. Now, it's been 5 going on 6 years, and these people are still talking about the 2016 failure, trying their best to defend it. I personally never attacked the cast for After the Call before seeing it. I thought the acting was mediocre, but the writing was the worst part of the movie by far. If the story was better, the cast might have not done as terrible, but the only thing that I've criticized the cast for after the fact was that they went on social media crying sexism and racism after the movie tanked, which is obviously ridiculous. And look at Afterlife. Phoebe proves female Ghostbusters can work. She was a great character in the movie. She did a fantastic job, and overall, Afterlife was just a better movie. But of course, these people cannot accept the fact that people disliked 2016 and prefer 2021's version of Ghostbusters, and they're trying their very best to spin it in any way possible. The hacks that write articles like this couldn't make it in any other industry, and that's why they're sitting here writing articles about a movie from 5, almost 6 years ago. It is absolutely disgusting that they're calling people babies, they're calling people sexist and racist simply because they didn't like a movie. Get over it! It's just that simple. And I quickly wanted to show off this article from the Mary Sue. Let's unpack the sexist box office narrative around Ghostbusters Afterlife. People are giving Ghostbusters Afterlife an amazing review score. Going to see it, buying movie tickets because it's simply a good movie, not because there's some sexist narrative around it. Answer the Call was inundated with bad press and toxic fandom that started during the film's production. By the way, Answer the Call is an awful title for the movie, but it says once fans learned that the film would center on 4 women, the angry men of the internet mobilized to tank the film, from downvoting the trailers on YouTube to flooding Rotten Tomatoes with bad reviews. Now, I didn't care at all they were a cast of all females. I was hopeful. I was going to give it a chance, and I did give it a chance. I tried to see it, and it was just an awful movie. Most people didn't care that they were all females. If they had done a great job at acting, the parts, if the writing was good, if the story was good, people would have liked the movie, but unfortunately, it was just a disaster. It says, thanks to the relentlessly negative press, Answer the Call was deemed dead on arrival despite earning $46 million its opening weekend. It was pretty dead on arrival. Yes, it had a decent opening weekend. This definitely isn't the worst opening weekend a movie's ever seen, but at the same time, the reviews for it are awful. For years now, people have talked about how bad of a movie it is, and it is. If we go over to Rotten Tomatoes, let's just look at some of the scores quickly. So for Ghostbusters 2016, it has a 74% critic score, which of course there's usually some kind of difference between the critic and the users, and the audience score over 100,000 ratings, and it has a 49% rotten score. And I agree with this number. It wasn't a good movie. There was nothing redeeming about it. But if we look at Afterlife, the critics didn't like it. The critics were trying to tank it, but the audience score is solid. Over 5,000 verified ratings, and it's only been out for a week and a half, and it's sitting at a 95%. I wanted to read just a couple of the audience reviews here because we're already here. Might as well read a couple of them. I haven't skimmed through the reviews in a couple days. People are saying things like one of the best sequels ever made, a great tribute to the original with new characters, but the same charm as the original. I agree. It was a great balance between telling the stories of these new characters, establishing these new characters, but also respecting the original movies and the original actors. I thought that it was very well balanced, and overall it was pretty good. Someone did give it a 1 and say, how do you screw up a movie this bad? No imagination at all. But that's all they say. Very generic review here, no details on what they didn't like, of course, but excellent movie. This movie captures the spirit of the original and adds to the lore of it as well. I agree. It was funny, it was entertaining, and the CGI was fantastic. I was impressed with the CGI as well. Actually, if you go back to the first Afterlife trailer they released, after watching the movie, they changed a lot of the CGI. They changed around a lot of the colors, which was really interesting. But scrolling down, people are saying things like beautiful. I went in with extremely high expectations and cried at the sentimental tribute to Harold Ramis. This movie was what people would say heart, made me feel like a kid again. Bustin' Ghosts, really enjoyed it. So many positive reviews here, and I agree. I thought it was a solid 8.5 out of 10, and it was the best sequel, reboot, continuation that I've seen. But as you can see, people really, really enjoyed it. Tons of 5 stars. But of course, it's sitting at a 95% right now, so you're not going to see many 1 stars. At the end of the day, people are allowed to dislike movies, and if they dislike Afterlife, that's okay. That's their opinion. If they prefer the 2016 Ghostbusters, that's also okay, but you shouldn't be going and writing articles attacking people for their own opinions. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.